another one of our episodes. Slowly getting into the swing of things.
Mm-hmm.
So how's your week been this week?
My week's been good. I'm not enjoying the cold. That's why I'm wearing my little fluffy socks, my leggings, this woolly dress, this blanket. I've even got my scarf over there. Like, I'm protecting myself from frostbite.
Frostbite. Yeah, you're definitely wrapped up, but I feel you. I literally just had my delivery come in. I bought like these, well, I can't name the brand, but it has these really big, warm, cozy blanket jumpers.
Ooh.
And I bought a coat from them as well. So it's a known brand, but I bought one of them and the coat, and it's been
Has
so
it got
warm.
a hood? Because I'm sorry,
They both have a hood.
Okay,
They both have a hood.
yeah.
I've been sleeping because my room was like freezing. I've been sleeping in that big jumper blanket. I've been so cozy. I've been sleeping like a bear. I'm like conked out.
I need to know though, like, because mine and your sleeping arrangements are very different. You like a cold room and a warm bed, and I like a warm room and a warm bed.
I can't. That's too much. I'll overheat.
I need to feel cozy. I feel like if your room is cold, that's giving...
That makes me feel cozy though, because I'm in the warm blanket. So like I'm cozying myself into like my duvet, into like the cozy blanket, and then that's why I feel warm. But I like having like somewhat like a cold face because it just stops you from overheating. If my room was hot, I don't like it, and I don't like not sleeping with a cover either. So in the summer I really struggle because it's just too hot.
Yeah. But what if you need to get out to go to the toilet?
I just firm it and then I get back in the warm bed.
Nah, that's torture for me. That is torture. The room needs to be warm.
No.
Like, the room needs to be warm. So when you go to the toilet, like, you're still comfortable.
No. I like in the daytime a warm room, yes. But at night, if it's too hot, I hate it. I sleep really bad.
Yeah, fair.
In a hot room.
Yeah, fair.
So,
apart from braving the cold,
yeah.
What else? I've been on Instagram a lot actually. I'm not really usually Instagrammer, but we've started our socials. So we've got TikTok.
Alright. TikTok.
We've got TikTok, Instagram, and obviously our YouTube and Spotify now, which is like amazing. So I've just been kind of doing a couple of things on Instagram. And I've just been coming across loads of funny videos, and I think that's why I like Instagram, because it's like of the funniness. I think TikTok I like, and it's quite fast for me, but I've seen a lot of, I followed Bristol Starter Pack.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. It's like just an Instagram account that shows different videos of Bristol, Bristol's life, Bristol's culture. And there was this like one funny video and she was like just explaining all the different craziness that goes around Bristol, all of the raves, all of the type of people, like hippie people. And she was explaining what it's like to live here. And I think Bristol's kind of like... It's an interesting city. It's really hard to explain. When people say, what's Bristol like? I don't know how to explain it, because there's so many different parts of Bristol that are so different.
Yeah.
And it kind of just blends into one, and there's not a kind of word that you can say to describe what Bristol is.
The way I would describe Bristol is eccentric. It's very eccentric.
Eccentric, wacky. Yeah. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Crazy parties.
Yeah.
A ridiculous amount of drum and bass, which I'm not really into.
I'm not really into the drum and bass. The rave.
I don't know. I think people are alternative. Like, a lot of people are alternative here, which I quite like. And that's what makes it funny. And that video was so funny because it's just describing all of the crazy things that happen in Bristol.
Yeah.
What kind of crazy things have you seen in Bristol?
Oh, don't even. So... So it's like part of the Bristol culture is because everyone is so used to like the craziness that is Bristol. There'll be something like that you'll walk past something that seems completely unhinged, and the people that've been in Bristol for many years won't even bat an eyelid.
I've
They'll be like, oh, that's
normalised
normal.
it.
It's normalised. So, for example, one of the craziest things more recently, my friend posted a picture, and this was like not far, like an area that we tend to go to, like my church is actually, and there's a famous island there called Turbo Island, or it's a known island in Bristol. We call it Turbo Island. It's not an actual island. It's literally this little concrete slab on the corner of a junction, like near some traffic lights. And I think the council have tried numerous things to basically clear it and stop people from gathering, and the Bristol people just don't. So you'll see like a bunch of people. You'll have eccentric people. Sometimes you've got some people that clearly on some sort of drugs. I don't know what substances they're on, but it's like a meeting spot. They drag old sofas into that corner.
Fires,
they have fire pits,
everything,
fireworks. Like they have raves there, and this is literally just a small spot. So literally just off it, I think it was a homeless person, literally tied a hammock between the two traffic lights that are right there, and was just chilling in the hammock while people are trying to cross the road.
And that's normal. That
normal.
is normal. For Stokes Croft, like, this is a specific area, I would say, in Bristol. And Stokes Croft is kind of known for the alternative, funky, crazy things that happen there. And that's normal. But there's normal shops all along Stokes Croft. So, like, just regular people kind of go in and out of Stokes Croft. But these crazy things always seem to happen around that area.
Oh, 100%. I think Stokes Croft, you would say, so there's different areas in Bristol that kind of are known for a certain thing, I guess. And Stokes Croft is very much like drum and bass, eccentric.
You wouldn't wear anything like posh.
Yeah. That's not the spot up there.
Like flared jeans, joggers, trainers, just kind of like very baggy alternative clothing.
Clothes, second-hand clothes, like you have a lot of them, like with the charity shops kind of outfits put together. I don't knock at a charity shop. Very eccentric, very alternative, very creative as well. It's kind of a creative hotspot. It's also the drug hotspot, to be fair.
That's true. I would say if anyone didn't live in Bristol, I would compare Stokes Croft to Camden. A little bit. In terms of like the alternative vibe, I would say.
I guess. I feel like Camden is more focused around the creativity, whereas Stokes Croft is more just about the vibes.
It's vibes, yeah. Actually,
like, you have the coffee shops, like you've got these like coffee shops that are there, you've got a couple of restaurants, you've got like the vegan food spots, but then you've got like bars and like alternative nightclubs that are there, and then you've got all sorts of people walking up and down that street.
I've had a great night out on Stokes Croft.
I haven't.
Really?
No, I've never. No, I haven't ventured.
I've had a couple. Some of them have not been great, but I've had a couple of good nights out.
I've never ventured.
Casual. You don't have to always dress up, and that's what I like about that area.
I've never ventured.
No one's gonna judge you.
I have not done a night out in Stokes Croft.
We should do it.
No.
I'm gonna drag you to.
I don't think that's.
You're like, no way. I don't want to do it. I'm gonna end up in the gutter.
Honestly. And then, but then the other side is like on the other side of Bristol. Like if you go towards more the centre, and then the other side of the centre, you've got places like Eastern, and that's where you've got all your I guess I'm gonna say ethnic shops, but we know these are like our kind of stores. This is where you go.
Like the black area, the ethnic area.
Yeah, because that's where you go to get like your spices, your like seasonings. You get your yam, your coconuts, your aloe vera.
That's like, where I go. Like whenever I need something that I know aren't in regular shops, that's where I go to. I go to Eastern, I go to Sweet Mark, I go to Mallock's, I go to all of those places to get what I know that other parts of Bristol don't offer me.
Exactly. And so I think, Bristol, I think what makes Bristol unique, you do have those little corners, and they are all very accessible. They're not far from each other. Whereas,
true.
you know, in some other cities, maybe, like, you've got to travel really in outskirts where you have these different communities. I think all of these different types of communities kind of are very central in the city still.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the part that makes it very unique. Like, even if you go into the centre of Bristol, you see a very diverse and different vibe all the time, because all of these different areas are just like a stone's throw away from the centre. And I think that just highlights how small Bristol actually is. Like, it's big, but it's small at the same time, because they keep pushing the
overcapacity in this city.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, people tend to come here from London because they know it's a bit cheaper. Now I don't even know if it's cheaper.
It's not.
But it used to be anyways, like, cheaper. So people would come from London and they would kind of get that kind of a little bit of that London vibe, but it's a little bit more calmer. So people would like that. They would kind of live in Bristol and then travel to London, like commute to London for work and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can understand. I think Bristol does still do a good balance between, there's a lot of families here, in terms of the city. So I think, and there's a lot of people who, especially young people, that are starting families that kind of had the high life in London and then start moving down this way.
And they want to settle down or something.
They want to settle down. But the one thing that I will tell you, like, to find a school place in the city is
good luck. Find a nursery.
Find a nursery, a school place. Everything is overcapacitated. There's too many kids and we don't have enough schools.
Yeah, it's true.
And education bodies, nursery schools.
I don't know what it's like for other cities,
schools, no.
but I know for sure Bristol is like generally overcapacity in all of those areas.
All of those areas, yeah. I know that for a fact because I work for the council.
And I work for a nursery, so we know.
But yeah, no, I think that's what I love about Bristol, though. I think everyone always asks, like, why would you want to move? And I think it's the eccentricness that kind of speaks to my creative soul.
Yeah, like, I always think, like, I haven't really moved outside of Bristol except from to go to school and uni in Bath. So I haven't ventured out of Bristol, moved to another city at all, and I think I would love to go to another city just to experience moving out of your hometown. But when I think, where would I go? Like, in the UK, I don't know. I don't see something similar to Bristol where I'd feel comfortable living.
Yeah. I think the only place I can really think of is, like, maybe London, because I've been there so many times.
You'll be broke. Good luck.
I know, but I'm broke here, so I don't know what difference. I'm broke here at this point.
You'll be counting your pennies to get on that tube.
No. I think this is it, like,
I think what Bristol needs more of, I don't know, like, when we go to London, we were like, yeah, we're not coming back, we love London so much, but I think it's because there's a lot more entertainment. I think the nightlife, for us, there's different kind of requirements of nightlife. I think Bristol has got definitely a big rave and drum and bass scene, and for me, I like Afrobeats, R&B, dancehall, that type of vibe, and I think there's not enough events catered to those types of things.
No, there isn't. I think it's starting to pick up because there's more people, like, creating them themselves. But now I feel I'm too old for this. I kind of wish it all
Yeah, but we don't have to, like, party, but we went to the theatre, we went to comedy shows. Yeah. There are a couple of things in Bristol, like the Hen and Chicken, they do comedy shows.
The one thing I wish to see more, sorry to cut you off.
The floor is yours.
My brain was like, oh, quick, say it.
That's our ADHD.
No, the one thing that I wish to see more of in Bristol, talking about, like, the theatre and those kind of things, is actually more diversity in those spaces of, like, performers. I think we do get a few, but it's usually few and far between if you're going to, like, a theatre show or even like a comedy night, because the one thing that I really, really loved when we went to London for my birthday was we went to this to the known like comedy club in London, is it Trafalgar Square or that area?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. And it was a really diverse like range of comedians, and I found like I was literally howling.
The way this girl was screeching the whole time because it's so funny. It was hilarious.
There was a couple of comedians. I'm really bad at remembering names and stuff. I remember the experience, not necessarily the name, but it was so funny.
He was talking about, what was he talking about? He was talking about the bus. He was a bus driver.
Yeah, he was a bus driver. And then there was the other guy. I think was
about getting a what's it when you get the bum check? Colonoscopy? What's it called?
Colonoscopy or a prostate exam.
I think he was getting a prostate exam.
Yeah,
so he was talking about that. I don't know what the other one was talking about, but it was hilarious.
It was so funny.
You were still laughing even when the acts went off the stage. You were still laughing. And the guy was like, "Who was that laughing?" I was like, this one.
Because we were like sat right at the back as well. But like I think seeing so many diverse acts in those type of spaces, like naturally because of the city, I think that's still kind of missing in Bristol. I think
it's starting to take place. I do notice certain types of diverse people coming into the performing arts and entertainment industry within Bristol, but I think it's just a bit slower. I think London is just naturally more diverse than Bristol, so you're not going to always have as many people coming through.
But do you think that's more a segregation thing as opposed to, because I feel like we have the diversity, but then you find there's one group of people creating their own events in their own spaces, and then we have like other communities creating their own things in their own spaces, and there's never really I think what's missing is like that intersection of the different communities kind of almost blending and coming together a bit more in those type of spaces in their creative arts.
And I think it's also about money. Unfortunately, I come from an acting background, so I know acting is a middle class thing.
Yeah.
So not everyone has the money to always sustain themselves, to be able to carry on the work. I know a lot of people that were talented, absolutely talented, and they had to take a break to then do work, and they couldn't sustain it. So they decided to do something else.
That kind of just brings us on to I guess today's topic. We had one of our people that follow us, I think it's one of our friends actually, ask us to kind of just dive into like working life, and so we're kind of talk about things I wish I knew before starting my first job or work life.
Oh my god, so many things, seriously.
Yeah,
it's been a journey.
It's been a journey, and there's some things I wish someone just prepared me for. And I thought I'll just start off like I prepared a few questions that we can kind of go into to just help us like have a bit of a discussion around this topic, because I think there are some really good advice points that we can kind of give from our own personal experiences that I hope will be useful.
I think everyone has different experiences, and then we'll be able to connect with each other on those experiences and maybe even give some inspiration or advice.
So I'll start off with the first question. So what's one thing you wish you'd known before starting your first job?
I think negotiating salaries, that's been a journey, and I think that's something that I've learned over time, knowing my worth. When you first start a job, when I first started my first job, I had no idea what I was doing. I felt like so out of water, and in a deep end, because I'd just been in education the whole time. I didn't really work part-time or anything. I did work a little bit part-time in Primark, I think, but going from just like something that you could just have and drop whenever you want, and then actually needing a job and relying on that work. I don't know, I felt a bit out of depth and I didn't know what I was doing. So I think, yeah, being able to negotiate things, knowing your rights and knowing your worth.
I think so too.
And also applying for things that you don't tick the boxes for.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people read the job description and have to make sure everything that's on there they can do, and you don't need to do that. Yeah. I've actually started applying for jobs now where I don't fit everything, but I know other things that I've done in the past I can kind of it can fit in and transfer that into it. So I think those are the main points, really.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think one thing that I wish someone really kind of explained to me when I got started in work is like understanding like your value and my own capability, and not letting myself be exploited. I think I'd been in roles where my enthusiasm and my can-do attitude was
you want to make a good impression, don't you?
Yeah, was almost exploited, and I ended up just being stuck in really, really low salary jobs, almost to the point where I was overqualified in a lot of spaces because I've been there for so long, but I wasn't just seeing the actual pay raise or my salaries increase for the experience and the skills that I was building. So I'd really say like really understanding your capabilities and being able to just ask for that pay rise and go in there and negotiate. And I think you need to remember, my advice would be for anyone that's starting out now is remember that you are just as important to them as they are to you. And if you have done a good job so far and you have good like performance reviews and you've been able to demonstrate that you do the job really well and you bring something to the table of value, you should be able to then go in there and start negotiating. And I would do that within like the first like a year. If you go into a new job, show yourself in the first year, show what you're capable of, and if they come back and say they're really pleased and happy with your performance and you're adding value to a company, I would always advise, if it doesn't naturally come, to start the conversation around increasing your salary. And if they don't, you say you leave, you start looking for that new job. I think we're done with the days where you kind of work in a company
and you're stagnant.
Like now, the culture has shifted so much where if you stay in a company for many years and you don't have clear progression routes and your manager clearly lays that out for you, you will stay stagnant because they will always try and pay you the lowest salary that they possibly can.
Of course.
Like gone are the days where our parents started in a company and worked their way up to the top managerial position, naturally because of I guess service, like long-term service in the company. Like that kind of culture is kind of like is over.
I think it's also the society in terms of these organisations are trying to cut corners in certain ways. They're trying to save money, and if they see you as someone will happily stay where they're at, they're not going to try and push you to progress or give you an extra salary. You have to fight for that. Yeah. And in certain ways that can be exhausting if it is a fight, but don't stay there if you know that they're not going to allow you to progress in different ways. If you deserve it, you genuinely deserve it.
Yeah. So I think I would say I wish what someone told me was just being confident, not knowing myself well enough to know that yes, I do bring something to the table, yes, I do have skills, and yes, I do have talent in certain areas, and therefore I do have a right to kind of communicate that and challenge that. So yeah, I agree with some of the points that you said.
What do you think about having that confidence to apply for something that you necessarily don't tick all the skills for.
Definitely. I think as women, I don't know why, I think we've just been conditioned to believe that we're always, I think the problem there is we've been conditioned to always believe that we're less than in society. And for me, my confidence, I will say this, has been very hard fought. For the people that know me closest will know that my confidence has been very hard fought for many different reasons. So I would say, especially as women, apply for that job, even if you only meet 50% of the job spec.
Don't be scared, there's nothing to lose. And that's what I never had in mind when I was younger. I always thought, oh, I'm going to be wasting my time, I'm going to be wasting their time. But you have nothing to lose to apply for somewhere. All they're going to tell you is yes or no.
Yeah.
You know, and you could get it. And a lot of people do get it for taking that risk, pushing yourself into something that you actually probably can do. And they want someone like you to be in that role. I think it's just the confidence that you need to have, really. How do you approach setting boundaries and saying no at work?
I'm the worst person to ask this. I'm still learning. I'm a work in progress on this. I think it's important to know yourself first. I kind of mentioned that in my last with the last question, but when you know yourself and you have an understanding of who you are, what your limits are, what your and you have an understanding of like your own personal boundaries, it'll be easy for you to then communicate those in like a workplace. It's the same as anyone else. You know, you just gotta remember that you're going into a place of work, but just because you're in a place of work, it doesn't mean that you have to compromise on your own personal boundaries. So if someone oversteps steps you or asks too much of you, you're very well within your right to kind of say, within reason obviously, like, I'm not very comfortable in doing that. So it's understanding what your comfortabilities are. Don't go into a job that you feel completely uncomfortable in doing anyways. If you're working somewhere that goes against everything that you believe in, or your own moral compass, or your own personal boundaries, like it's not worth it. It's not worth your mental health. It's not worth your well-being. Find something that's more suited to you and where you're at. But I think the other thing is it's just being very clear from the get-go if you go into work. So I think if it's in the context of like a manager trying to ask you to do extra work, for example, outside of your normal job role, you need to sit down and ask, like, is this going to be positive for me as well? If I do this extra work, am I gaining something from this? Either that could be experience, something that you can add to help you with your progression, or is this something that's just going to cause me more stress and unnecessary like work? And if it's the latter, then communicate that. You can communicate. One of the ways that I've learned is when I've worked with managers who kind of just ask things left, right and centre, and I know I have my normal day-to-day things and I've got organised myself. I would just ask them the question, so if you would like me to prioritise this, these are the things that I'm currently working on, which one would you like me to deprioritise? And so actually being prepared to counter any of those kind of requests, and that's just communicating with boundaries.
I think what I really struggle on is how to say things in a professional way. I think you can say no to things in a certain type of way, and it's taken time for me to understand how to communicate that. For example, if someone's like, you've got this task to do, this task to do, this task to do, this task to do, and you know, like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do all of this. how then do you communicate that to your manager in a professional way to say, you know, which one do you want me to prioritize, to kind of let them know, like, this is unachievable, I can't do that in a short space of time. And that in a way is somewhat kind of creating boundaries and saying no, but in a professional way.
Yeah.
So I think it's like learning how to communicate with your manager or colleague in a professional way.
Yeah, it really is. And I think, so you gotta remember, I think sometimes when you go into these spaces, obviously a manager's only thinking from their perspective and their own personal workload. And so obviously the position that a manager's in, they have delegates. So we're the delegate. If you're working under a manager, you end up being the delegate. The person that they would delegate work to that they can't complete or etc. etc. But if you just keep saying yes to everything and not challenge anything, a manager's never going to know that the team is at capacity and when they need to hire extra staff. And where things may need to change within the culture or within the workplace environment. Because if you keep doing everything, even though you're doing it on unpaid overtime, I would say, like, never do anything as unpaid overtime. Make sure you log.
I'm not working for free.
Yeah, it's like you gotta start treating these people like business. It's a business transaction, and I've learned this the hard way. I've really truly have learned this the hard way because I'm a very kind person and I'm like a very helpful person. But I've had to learn this the hard way to say, like, no, if you're going to expect me to do extra, I'm going to expect to be compensated extra. If it's just a case of I have to work late because I didn't manage my own time correctly, that's on me. So I would never say, like, okay, that's the manager's fault, because if he's asked me to do something and I've kind of wasted half of my day doing something else that was unimportant. So it just depends. But I think one thing that you said in terms of communicating, it's just saying it, is asking a question. Is this a priority? Ask for a deadline if you get loads of stuff sent your way. It's like, when does this need to be in by? And then answer the question. It's like, oh, I need it by the end of play. It was like, oh, well, I'm currently working on this urgent thing. So which one of these things would you like me to deprioritize for me to be able to get what you need to get on time? Or tell them, it's like, oh, I'm going to either run over or I'm going to have to drop something else to complete this, you know. And I think just being really strict with that and being really strict with communication will let your manager know from the get-go what they can give you and what they can't. But you have to assert your boundaries very early on.
What do you think about mental health and burnout? I know I've suffered so much in the past, and my experience on burning out, giving 100% when you start a job and not knowing where to go from there, I've like experienced that so much. Has your mental health ever been suffered from work?
100% all the time. Like, I think now currently it's the first time I feel like I'm in like a healthier position.
Agreed, yeah.
When it comes to my my work and my mental health. And up until now, and I'm 32 now, so it's
been a process, seriously, to understand all of these different things and how to go about them.
Yeah.
No one told me
nothing
about work.
Yeah. So I think the best way to just know what your limits are. I think it comes back down to your personal boundaries. You need to know where your limits are. And then create boundaries from there. So if you know that you can't keep going at 150% within this job, slow down. Don't do everything.
But
you know,
that's the one thing that I wish I'd learned, is not giving 100% at the very beginning. So someone told me not that long ago, you know, give like maybe 50 at the beginning and then work up to more of like the 100%, so you can show that you're progressing and that you're able to go somewhere, instead of giving 100%, giving all of your energy straight away, and then the expectation of your managers like, oh, she can do more, she can do more, she can do more, and I'm like, whoa, I can't do more. This is my limit. This is my limit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've learned over time to just give a reasonable amount of energy at the beginning, and then like just work harder and harder. Yeah, so people can see like you're progressing, but you're not burning yourself out in those ways.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I could do the staff party events, I can do this, I was offering myself.
Same.
With so many different ways, and then like the organisation was like, yeah, like we'll do that, we'll take that, and then I was just like, like running a race, but there's no end. Like it was awful. But
it's so true, and I think what that stems back. Comes back down to actually knowing yourself and understanding yourself. Because for me, my realization was that mentality of I need to be everything for everyone.
I think it's people pleasing as well. Like I felt like I was people pleasing in the past, and that's got me in really unfortunate situations. Yeah,
and I think that's it. Like actually, I had to do the work and try and understand that where's this actually stemming from, and for me, it was actually more from a place of insecurity rather than confidence.
Yeah.
And it took me actually burning out, and even in the burnout, having to fight for like my rights and certain situations in a job, for me to then actually realize my true confidence. Like I do now, for me now, looking back on it, despite how the experience ended in like that particular workplace, I'm still grateful for the experience, because it actually created such a self-assurance in my ability when it comes to knowing what I can do and what I can't do, and has made me feel a lot more assured in actually having those difficult conversations when I need to have those difficult conversations. And being more boundaried, and also just like giving a heads up, like there's nothing wrong with saying like obviously it depends on what industry you kind of work in, but you can caveat that. It's like, okay, I know I'm really good in a crisis, but this is a temporary thing, this is not a permanent thing. Like I can take on a lot when it's in crisis, but don't expect that level of output on a permanent basis. That's not me. This is my crisis person, and it's just it's just learning how to be confident in communicating, especially as a woman. Don't let no one tell you that you can't do something, or let someone speak down upon you, or let someone try and challenge your own personal confidence. I think a lot of people will start playing psychological games with you in these type of workplaces. Like literally. So that's where you need to really know yourself and stand firm in who you are.
I've really tried my hardest not to be in such corporate positions, because I know it's not for me. I know that, I don't know, corporate positions scare me, so I've tried to kind of go down the route of, hospitality or charities, and then like I work for a nursery now, so it's more like the education system. And I've really stayed away from corporate because I've heard so many bad things about corporate companies and the culture of the office and stuff like that, so I've never really had a corporate position.
It depends. Like I think,
there like myths within that, or is that true, where a quite a big corporate company or position can be toxic?
No, there is truth in that, but I think it comes absolutely down to the leadership, and then the values of the company, and then how those values are demonstrated within the company. At the end of the day, it's not a sheet of paper or a vision statement that holds the culture of a company. It's the people in there, and it comes down from 99% it trickles from the top down. So it's I would say, like, it depends. Like if a company has a really good manager or really good leader, in place that really does care about the people as much as the company and the vision, and really demonstrates that, you can have really, really positive corporate settings. You know, I have seen it. I've seen young people go into new companies who have really great like ethoses and ethics within them, and they're really striving and they're really being supported. So it really just depends, and it also depends on you. It's like, again, know yourself, know what spaces work for you and what don't. So I think that there are spaces where corporate settings can be really positive, and yeah, just know what you want, know who you are, and know what spaces kind of work for you. If you're someone that's more practical, an office job is not going to be for you, you know.
True.
And if you're someone that's more creative, doing like a boring, I don't know, filing system kind of job, again, probably won't be for you. And I know sometimes like we've got to get jobs to pay bills and everything. You can kind of think about the industry or the direction that you want to go into to kind of help you with that decision.
Do you think like everyone knows what they want to do within work and their careers?
No, I don't think. And I think it's absolutely normal to not know what you want to do, especially if you're young. Especially if you're like just starting out.
But I think people even at 40 can still not know what they want to do.
Yeah, 100%. So
there's like major like entrepreneurs, like people who have actually made it, who started their business at 40, started their business even at 50. They didn't know what they wanted to do, and they were working until they found that.
But that's it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think you need to know 100% what direction you want to go into. So if you're someone that's unsure, and you're still not certain like what direction you want to go into, what your interests are, I'd just say try things out, try different things. And if you're someone that's like, you know what, I'm not a career person, I just want a job so I can go live my life, that's absolutely fine. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I don't know why we've kind of adopted this narrative that you need to have a career in mind to be successful, and I don't think that's true.
I don't know, I think it's something that you enjoy. I think that's the whole thing of like having a career or finding something that's long lasting, because you need to have that passion, you need to enjoy what you're doing, otherwise you're gonna have a shit life.
No, what? Some people can't. Like, some people's... I think it's... Okay, so the way I would say it is, understand what your priorities are, yeah? If your priority is, I want to have fun in my life. I want to, like, live my life to the fullest, and your definition of fun is, I want to go see the world, I want to travel, and I just want something that allows me to fund that, and that's your priority.
Is that long lasting though?
For some people it can be, because they figure it out, you know. And if your compromise is, okay, cool, I'll just get any job that I know I can do, but I'm not pressed about it, like, that's absolutely fine. But if you're someone that it's like, I do want something meaningful because I spend so much time in that kind of space, then yeah, you figure out what your interests are and tailor it to that and develop your experience. And then if you're someone that's like, I have no idea, I would say like the best thing to do at first is just get to know yourself. Figure out what your hobbies are, what your interests are, what brings you joy, and then go from there. And then try different things. Even if it is just, okay, I'm just going to get any job for a few years while I try and figure these aspects of my life out. You know?
I think I wish I had that mindset growing up. I think I was always so, like, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, and put a lot of pressure on myself. Like, I need to do something. You need to start now, you need to do something that you enjoy, that you need to get this amount of money, you need to do all of these things, and I definitely put a lot of pressure on myself to I don't know.
But there's no point. I think one thing I realised, like,
To prove to yourself. That's, to prove something to myself, like, I guess.
I get that, but I think for me, maybe it's because now I feel like for the first time, I feel like I'm on a career path. Before, when I was working in like a corporate office for however many years, that wasn't a career.
No.
That was a job. And I got stuck in for 6 years. I kid you not, when I was working in that insurance company, every single year, when it came to around April time, I was looking for a new job somewhere. I had an interview every single year, so I didn't want to stay there.
So why was it that long then? Why was it 6 years?
I think...
Were you scared of taking that risk, like taking that leap? Or you just didn't know what else you wanted to go into, so you might as well have
No, I had an idea of what I wanted to go into, but I think around that time, it was a lot harder to get interviews if you didn't have direct experience. And I think I wanted to make the switch from corporate into more of like community-based projects. And because my experience was just predominantly corporate, it was a real struggle, because I think that sector was very much more about who you knew, not what you knew.
Agreed.
In the charity sector, in Bristol anyways. I don't know how it is.
Which I think so strange.
Yeah, there's a lot of nepotism in those spaces, and I think I didn't know that. I think in my head I was like, well, I got all of these other jobs, I'll just apply and see where it goes. But I think what I was offered a lot of the times was just another office job, other insurances. And I was like, I don't want to be in this space, and I don't want to stay in there.
You want to be more in with the people, with the community.
So that's why it just ended up taking some time.
Let's get into a dilemma. I think it would be fun to do a dilemma just to see someone else's kind of like what
they're going
through and stuff. So I've got one here. It says, my job conflicts with my morals, and I feel awful working there. I don't agree with the values of my organisation, and I'm struggling to get through each day working there without guilt. I had accepted the job because I was desperate, but for many years I need to stay there for another 9 months. Early in career, resume, first full-time job was toxic and didn't stay long, etc. It stresses me out getting through each day knowing that my work is contributing towards something corrupt and goes against my ethics and morals. Advice for how to deal with this, how to see it as just a job. I have a plan for my next career steps, but it feels so far away. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's a hard one.
I think
that's a hard one.
For me, I would never do something that conflicts with my morals and my values. I for sure have to work in a job that I'm happy with and that I'm proud of, in a sense. It doesn't have to be long lasting, but there are many jobs out there. I'd rather work in tests. Like, I don't know, obviously from this segment, it doesn't actually say what it is.
Yeah.
But, for example, never, ever, ever the sex industry. No. Like, I would never do that. I'd rather work in Tesco's, Asda, something just normal. Like, you can work in those small jobs and then go into what you want, if that's something that you're working for, training for, like going to school for.
Yeah,
I
hear
think
that.
it's necessary, unless there's a certain situation where you think that it is.
I hear that. I think the sex industry is very extreme.
I always go to extremes.
I think that's very much like working in a nursery, sex industry. Yeah.
Conflict of morals and like values. I don't know. It'd have to be something extreme though, or
no. So
what other things can you think about that?
The reason why I say that is because I can understand it. Like, I think if I struggled with this, and my jobs haven't been extreme jobs at all, and I started struggling with. I can relate to this person very much so.
Okay.
Particularly within my last like one of my more recent jobs, And that's because I've just, I like, if you have someone that has got really strong moral compass, and yours could be very specific, you know, it could be like, we all have like a certain amount of values that we hold ourselves to, and our values might look different to other people, you know, what our strongest values are. So I think for me, one of my strongest values is humanity, and like people, and also like young people specifically. Like that encompasses a lot of my deeper rooted values, and then how I treat people, you know. And my morality is kind of based on like my faith actually like dictates a lot of my morality, but it's like treating people fairly, treating people with like a little bit love and kindness, you know. And if something feels like exploitative, even the slightest, I really struggle with that. I really struggle with sitting with that.
I guess, that's kind of sparked something actually, and maybe put a different perspective on it. When I worked at Amazon, I felt like that was a COVID job for me. I knew I was going to be working there for a year because I couldn't work where I was working previously, because obviously it was closed because of lockdown, and I knew that was going to give me some work. And there were the way people treated people there, the way managers treated people, that kind of like working environment, and also like different things. Like I have like an activism with the environment and stuff like that, and they didn't recycle, they didn't do certain things, and I did feel like working there was a little bit of a compromise of like what I believe in and my values. So it could be it doesn't have to be something extreme like sex work. It can be, you know, other things that you do hold within yourself that you know, you're not happy with. So I can relate actually.
And I think I would always look at it, and I think this is some of the advice that I was kind of given when I was like grappling with it as well. I would always say, stay true to yourself first and foremost. And it sounds like within that dilemma, the person does have a clear understanding of where they are. And I guess like evaluate, like are you going to be happy with the experience or what you achieve in this particular job, or is it going to be tainted by the moral conflict? And if you find yourself asking that question, it's like, oh, this is actually going to be tainting my like how I feel about myself working in this space, and it will overshadow any experience or any progression or anything positive over it. It's like, leave. It's not worth it. It's absolutely not worth it.
I think the fact that this person said they have a certain amount of time there, it showed that they're not going to be there for long. They're not just going to be content and stay there, even though they know like it has a conflict in their morals. They're going to be there for a little bit, and they have a plan. And I think at least you have a plan
that's true.
To like move forward and go somewhere else. I think it's okay, just do your best.
But I think if it really like, my advice always though
depends what it is, obviously.
It depends on what it is, but I think if it really starts to have a massive impact on how you see yourself, how you view yourself, if it starts changing you as a person, like I've learned this the hard way, get out as quickly. Get out as quickly as you can.
Do something else.
Really not worth it. It's really not worth it, because I think I maybe that's me, because I'm a soul person. It's like, don't compromise yourself for nothing.
Yeah, that was a point. I had to leave. I knew I had to leave because it was too much.
So maybe we're not the best people to answer the advice of like how to just see it as a job, because we feel things. We put our hearts into what we do.
I know what you mean.
I guess but I have met people that are really good at compartmentalizing in these situations. So I think it's just understanding who you are. Again, comes back down to what I mentioned before, knowing
and
yourself.
your circumstances as well. Like it depends on your circumstances.
Obviously, if the financial side of things becomes like a massive struggle and stuff, then I'll just say like you're doing the best, and give yourself grace in those situations. And if you've got any dilemmas, like work-life dilemmas, share them, let us know. Any tips that you like, any good advice that you've learned or someone has given you, Share. Let's share in the comments with the community. So we don't have to all go out and make the same mistakes. But yeah, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.